Joining us on the line is Congresswoman Lauren Boebert. She is a current Congresswoman for Congressional District 3 in Colorado, and she's running in Congressional District 4. Congresswoman, thanks so much for joining us.
Jeff, it is wonderful to be with you this morning. I'm actually on the western slope, and I am in this storm that's headed east.
We're getting a live weather report, too, from the Congresswoman. I will tell you this. Years ago, when we were coming out of the pandemic for the Western Conservative Summit, we couldn't do our big shows like we traditionally did. So we went and filmed these little mini documentaries. One of them was up to Shooter's Grill. It was an opportunity to meet Lauren Boebert. She had just arrived on the scene, and it was fun to kind of document. We went to a gun range, all that stuff. But then we went to Shooter's Grill with about 30 people, and we had dinner, and Congresswoman Boebert made prime rib for all 30 people that were part of the film crew, that were supporters, that were all wanted to be there. I have never in my life had a congressperson make me dinner. I think it was the only time that's ever taken place, and that was Congresswoman Lauren Boebert. So, and then we get a weather report too. So she can do it just about all.
Well, feeding people is my love language, Jeff.
Is it? There you go. You got a lot of boys to feed too. So I imagine they're big eaters in your house. Let's dive into why you are the best candidate. You're in a competitive primary in Congressional District 4. Why are you the best to represent that district?
Yes. Well, Jeff, my family and I are living in Windsor, Colorado now. They're in the 4th district and loving it more and more each and every day. Couldn't have picked a better spot to finish raising my boys in. And I am the only candidate that has a proven track record of actually doing what I say I'm going to do. If you remember years back, I defeated a 5-term Republican incumbent because he was campaigning one way and governing another. And that was frustrating to me to hear someone coming town to town, giving a conservative message to voters, and then having a not so conservative voting record in Washington, D.C. And so I have vowed to keep a conservative record and actually do what I say on the campaign trail, govern as I campaign. And I have my 100% conservative voting record from many different organizations that actually score the votes. And a lot of people can get out there and talk about what they would do, want to do, could do, but I'm the only one who's actually doing it. I'm the one leading the fight to secure the border. I have passed amendments to defund sanctuary cities. Before this Congress, in the previous Congress, I stopped the $450,000 checks that the Biden administration wanted to cut to families who were separated at the southern border after they entered our country illegally. And we can all talk about what's happening at the southern border all day long. This is the number one issue in our nation, the invasion that is taking place with 6.2 million people captured and released into the interior of our country, which of course is impacting Coloradans currently. But I've been down there, I had seen the crisis, and it was enough for me to force an impeachment inquiry for Joe Biden for his dereliction of duty at the southern border. And I was able to get every Republican in the House of Representatives to vote in favor of beginning that impeachment inquiry. And so I am the one leading the efforts at the southern border. Of course, I have many colleagues who are doing great work on this issue as well. But as far as the candidates here in CD4, I'm actually doing something about it.
We're talking with Congresswoman Lauren Boebert, currently Congresswoman in Congressional District 3. She's moved now to Congressional District 4 and is running in a pretty competitive primary there. You're traveling around the district. You're meeting people. This is kind of a new district for you. A lot of the media coverage was concerning some of the personal challenges you've had. Are you running into that as you're meeting people out there? Or are they more focused in on issues?
The media, they're the only ones concerned about anything other than policy and the actual job. So the things that you read in print are much different than how it looks on the ground. And it's been wonderful. And Jeff, as you know, I've been fighting for all of Colorado since my first campaign. I've been advocating for all of us and all of America. And so I love our state. I want to see it get back on track. And I'm doing everything that I can at a federal level to keep the federal government out of Colorado as much as possible. Take care of the national debt, because that's probably our number two biggest issue. It is absolutely unsustainable and immoral, the debt that we are putting on our children and our children's children. And as a mom and a grandma, I absolutely take that seriously and very personally. And so all of these federal issues I am working on to help each and every Coloradan. Of course, the media likes to focus on one thing and paint a picture for those who may not have met me in person. But on the ground, we are talking about policy. I'm talking to farmers and ranchers. I'm going down to Prowers County and to Baca. And, you know, I love southeastern Colorado. I have a great relationship with folks down there because I've represented southeastern Colorado with Crowley County and Otero County and Los Animas. So right now, those districts, they border one another. And so those issues are already things that I'm working on, whether it comes to our farmers and ranchers or even our water resources, working to approve the Arkansas Valley conduit. I certainly had a hand in that and was very proud to get that approved and see the groundbreaking for that project. But all of these issues are what's concerning voters, not just in the 4th district, but in all of Colorado and all of our nation. Just about every policy that comes from Democrats, whether it be at a state level or a federal level, is hurting Americans. And so I understand these issues and am working each and every day to provide a solution.
We're talking with Lauren Boebert. Congressional District 3, you barely win by a few hundred votes during the last election. Congressional District 4 would kind of open you up to even be kind of more aggressive, more bold, more conservative. You wouldn't have to worry about those narrow margins in that kind of different district. What does your leadership look like differently in CD4 than it would in CD3?
Well, certainly in the 3rd district, I was, I guess you could say, challenged to see how I can work with the other party, with Democrats, to pass a legislation that actually works for Colorado. And I really enjoy that. I really enjoy partnering with the opposition to find common ground without compromising my principles. So while in the 4th district, that's not as necessary politically, it's still necessary for the people to make sure we are passing reasonable legislation when it comes to our water or economic development. And so I certainly will continue to find ways to work with the other side on those issues that do not compromise our principles. But I will also work just as hard as I always have to stop the bad policy and promote good policy, even if we can't get bipartisan support. So I don't think I'm going to be changing who I am anytime soon. A lot of folks have tried to change me, wanted to change me, but I am radically me, and I'm going to govern just as I have. And that's the confidence that voters in Colorado's 4th district are finding in me. They already know how I govern. They already know how I will vote. And just about any issue that they have a concern with or a question about, I have a stake in the ground on that issue already. And they can look to that and say, this is exactly how I would be represented at a federal level by Lauren Boebert. And so I think that that's very assuring for the voters in the 4th district, because a lot of folks can sit at home and polish their stump speech message or give a non-answer in a debate, but we need someone who's actually going to do the work, and they can look to me and see that. I mean, right now, look, I'm still representing the 3rd district, having meetings here, campaigning in the 4th district, and traveling to Washington, D.C., and raising my boys. And so there's all of this that's already going on, and folks can see, wow, she's kind of covering 80% of Colorado's landmass here and still doing a good job.
That is a lot. It's a lot of work, especially when you have kids and, you're trying to be a good mom and you're pouring to them, and even a grandmother, which is just amazing to me because I feel like you're younger than me, and I can't believe I would be a grandparent at this point in my life. But
I'm just happy that life won in that scenario.
There you go. That's exactly right. It is very demanding to be a congressperson. I've never held that role. I haven't sought it because of the demands on it. You are a very talented speaker. You were top-rated speaker at the Western Conservative Summit 2 years in a row. What is it about direct constituent services, about leading an office, that appeals to you as opposed to just hitting the speaking circuit?
Yes, well, as far as I can remember, my life has always been about service. Once I started serving others in my personal capacity, I fell in love with that. I told you feeding people is my love language. Somebody comes in empty and leaves filled. That is fulfilling to me. That satisfies my my very soul. And so from whether it was serving at McDonald's as a teenager, working in the oil and gas industry, in the Piceance Basin, producing good, affordable energy for all of America, or serving in my restaurant, or serving at the local jail to women who are at the lowest points in their life, and personally introducing these women who could turn to the God who could turn their shame into glory. This is my favorite part of life. And now I get to serve at one of the highest levels in our country. And you mentioned constituent services. That is something that goes overlooked. And I have an amazing staff that certainly helps me with this, but helping seniors and our veterans and those who are having problems with federal agencies like the IRS, this is one of the main parts of my job. And getting people back the benefits that they're owed, or helping cut through the red tape, or getting life-saving procedures through the VA accomplished for those who are put on wait lists. This is the most rewarding part of my job. And so it's not just about speaking, but there's a lot of passion in what I'm doing. And so that's why when I'm on a stage or in front of a crowd, you hear a good message, because I believe in what I'm doing and I care for the people that I'm serving, and that passion comes out. It's not robotic. It's not planned. It's not scripted. I don't think, Jeff, you've ever seen me on stage with a scripted speech, and it's because it flows from within me out to the hearers of the audience, because these are the people that I am fighting for each and every day.
Now, Representative Boebert, Bill Thorpe here, got a question about our looming government shutdown in theory that's coming on Friday. So far, every time this deadline has approached, both the Republicans and Democrats have pretty much kicked the can down the road. Are we expecting another can kick at the end of this week? And what is preventing both sides from coming to a longer-term agreement?
While I am not in favor of kicking the can, I do believe that's what's going to happen. I am of the mindset, if our southern border is wide open and we are not working on a deportation plan for the more than 8 million people who've come into our country illegally, then we need to shut our government down and not fund an administration that is allowing this invasion to take place. I don't think that's going to happen. Unfortunately, we have a lot of Republicans who would rather partner with Democrats to kick the can with a continuing resolution and continue Nancy Pelosi's spending levels and policies from the last Congress.
Let's talk a little bit about Donald Trump, likely to be the next Republican nominee. We do have Nikki Haley in town today, and she's going to be joining us a little bit later for a possible interview that will play tomorrow. It'll be taped because she gets in a little bit later today. But all right, Donald Trump becomes president. You have a close relationship with him. You've been working with him. You've been a supporter and a fan with him. What does your support and your leadership in CD4 look like with a Donald Trump in the White House?
Oh, I think it's going to be very, very powerful for America. President Trump needs his A-team serving in office when he gets into office, so we can quickly reinstate his policies, his previous policies, as well as new policies to undo the destruction that the Democrat Party has caused with their legislation or executive orders from Joe Biden. So I am a supporter of President Trump. He did amazing things for our country, and he's going to continue to do amazing things for our country. Look what he's going through, not because he has to or wants to necessarily. It's truly because he wants our country to be excellent. He wants to make America great again. And that's exactly what he will do. And I'm excited looking at the future to be in partnership with him. Since I've been in office, I have been contending against Joe Biden and his policies, or Nancy Pelosi and her policies. And I'm excited to get someone in the executive who actually loves our country and will do everything to protect and defend her people.
Let's dive into it. Two of the other congressional races, you have five, which is down in Colorado Springs, and then CD3, where you just left. Give us kind of a read on those districts. Do you think, especially CD3, I just couldn't imagine Colorado only having two Republican congresspeople. I'm like, no way.
Right.
Where are we where that became like acceptable? Do you think CD3 remains Republican? How do you feel about the Colorado Springs race? And what do you think happened with Ken Buck and Doug Lamborn? I mean, all of a sudden we have three open races in the state of Colorado. I don't think this has ever happened. Mm-hmm. And it seems like, what's your read on what happened there?
Well, we'll start with CD3. I believe that we are going to keep that seat. The dark money and the Hollywood money flow stopped the moment I announced that I was running for CD4.
So is that a badge of honor for you? They really don't like me. The crazy left, the Marxists, they really don't like me and go after me a lot.
Well, yeah, they go after who's effective, and right. You're going to see that in the primary as well. In the primary, I will be the one who's attacked by the other candidates because I am effective, and I don't say that boastfully. It's just how it works. You're not going to go after someone who is not a threat to you. And so the Democrats certainly have gone after me since before I was elected, and they have not stopped. They've geared it up. I just wish I could raise as much money on my name as the Democrats do. That would be nice. But with Colorado, we'll keep the 5th. That's a strong conservative district, strong Republican district. We'll keep that. I do believe that we will have our 3 Republican seats remain in place. And, as far as Doug Lamborn, we all are in favor of term limits. And he decided that it was time. He had been there and fulfilled his duties to whatever extent. And so, I certainly wish him the best. And Ken Buck, a lot of folks are frustrated with him, but he wrote my favorite political book, Drain the Swamp. I've read that book at least 5 times, and it's so spot on. I think that maybe Ken needs a copy and just to read it again, but not sure exactly what happened there. Regardless, CD4 will be properly represented. The way Ken Buck started was right, and CD4 deserves conservative representation that will not compromise and will not fail them. And that's exactly what I will give them.
How do you keep the DC swamp from getting a hold of you?
Jesus. I mean, really, you have to have strong faith in Washington, D.C. and understand your purpose, understand that God's grace, his anointing can take you farther than your character ever can. This has never been about me, my strength, my ability. It is what God has called me to. And he's always going to call his people to something that is bigger than themselves. So you have to have faith. So you have to put your trust in someone bigger, and I have my trust in him. And so that is how I remain strong in Washington, D.C. It's not without flaw, But, you read chapter 11 of Hebrews, and, a lot of God's people who accomplished really big things had flaws, and God did not edit their stories. In the Hebrews Faith Hall of Fame, Hebrews chapter 11, God lists out the people who by faith accomplished great and mighty works for God's people. And you had murderers in there, adulterers, prostitutes. You had Gideon, who I guess was pretty depressed. He's like, I'm the least of the least, and just, kind of a whiny little guy. And look, God called him a mighty man of valor. And so God chose not to edit his children's stories, I believe, to encourage each and every one of us that our mistakes and flaws do not define us. He can still work mighty things through us. And so that is how I keep the DC swamp from taking me. And then, of course, coming back to Colorado and being with the great people in our state. You cannot properly represent someone if you don't spend time with them. And the majority of my legislation comes from small roundtable meetings in small rural counties. And that's who I have been fighting for nearly 4 years. And that's who I'm going to continue fighting for. Of course, we have Douglas County, that is, a very suburban area, but an urban area. But we have 20 other counties in the 4th district that are rural and need a strong voice to represent them and fight for them, and bring legislation to committees that will provide economic development and more water storage in Colorado, to stand up for our farmers, our ranchers. Look, I have legislation to take the wolves off the endangered species list, because guess what? They aren't staying where they were released. Wolves don't understand arbitrary boundaries, and they are coming all over Colorado.
They're skiing in Beaver Creek, I think, at this point.
Right, yes. And, and most of Colorado did not want wolves. We understand this predator is only going to hurt Colorado, our farmers, our ranchers, our livestock, our deer population, our elk population. And so this negatively impacts that. So listen, I tell folks, I think in this age of identifying however you want, we all just need to start identifying as trappers and go and gather these wolves up ourselves and release them into Denver and Boulder, because they're the ones who wanted them anyway.
Now, Representative Boebert, want to bring this back and kind of close the circle. Talk to us about, now that you're in CD3, talking to the voters.
CD4.
Sorry, CD4. I apologize. I was doing that.
There's too many numbers, man.
There are way too many numbers, and it's early. What I'm looking at is, so you made the switch, and what I want to know is, what are you talking to and what are you hearing from the new constituents in 4 that are similar to 3, but also what are the differences that you're discovering in those two populations?
Yes, well, the crops are different in CD4 in eastern Colorado. Even the energy that is developed in eastern Colorado is different than the West, but the values are still the same. And that's exactly what I'm seeing from everyone that I am meeting, and even folks that I've known that I'm talking to in eastern Colorado. They want a government that leaves them the heck alone. They want inflation reduced. They want to produce energy. They want our southern border secure. Our farmers and ranchers want to be able to go out and do the jobs that they've been doing for generations, and protect their private property rights. Moms and dads want government out of schools. One of my very first commitments to Colorado in my contract with Colorado was to work to defund the Department of Education. And I had amendments to line item veto some of these woke programs, or diversity, equity, and inclusion officers, or whatever it may be, that is wasteful spending that we don't need to spend tax dollars on. And so all of these issues impact eastern Colorado just the same as they do western Colorado. And that's why I'm fighting for our state as a whole each and every day. And so all of these national issues are top of mind right now. It's a presidential election year, and these national issues are impacting people negatively. So they want to know, when is accountability coming? When are we holding the Biden crime family accountable? When are we taking care of inflation? When are we going to become energy independent again? When are we going to protect our individual rights again? And this is what I've been working on. And again, I am the only proven candidate in this race that has a record of doing all of those things. And you know what's interesting? I told you the crops are different in Eastern Colorado, but the values are the same. Well, I have advocated for sugar beets for nearly 4 years without having a single sugar beet in Western Colorado. And lo and behold, now we have sugar beets. And so, that's an industry that I've already been working to protect and prop up. And now I will have the opportunity to directly represent them and continue fighting for them.
Will you support Ken Buck's resolution regarding the 25th Amendment and Joe Biden?
Oh, I mean, the 25th Amendment should have been invoked, but look, Kamala Harris is a great insurance policy for Joe Biden. No one wants her to be in office. But look, I filed articles of impeachment. I do believe, even without a Senate confirmation, that he needs to be impeached in the House. And if I don't see action, I have already made the promise to voters and to myself that if I don't see action on accountability with Joe Biden, I will go to the House floor and force a straight up and down vote, yes or no, to impeach Joe Biden.
Representative Lauren Boebert joining us. Her website's laurenforcolorado.com. You want to learn more about her, laurenforcolorado.com. She already has a very high name ID, but if you're new to, or if you're in Congressional District 4 and she's new to you, that's where you can learn about her campaign. Congresswoman Boebert, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks so much. God bless y'all.
Jeff and Bill, weekday mornings from 6 to 10 on News Talk 710, KNUS.